संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। नमस्ते यतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. So we are going through the chapter of Karma Yoga. So last we saw that who controls all sense organs. Yastru indriyani manasa niyamya. Using the mind who controls all the sense organs. Arabhatirjina, who begins action. What kind of action? Using the karmendriya. Karmendriya karmyogam asakta. Without attachment, if he does the karma yoga, sarvasishyate, he alone excels. So, first of all, he says the indriyas are to be controlled. सबको नियंत्रण में रखना, संयम में रखना जरूरी है. पर संयम में रख के छोड़ देने में वो भी मुश्किल है. Supposing there is a huge flowing river, so you put a band. Simply if you सिर्फ रोकने में क्या होगा? Sometimes suddenly it will break open and then go away. उसका दूसरी जगह पे चलाना चाहिए. It has to be given a direction. So आपका नियम्य कर्मेंद्रियानि मनसा नियम्य, that's okay. It has to be controlled. But then it should also be given a proper direction. Otherwise, it will get completely, such a mind cannot stay in that state. I mean, if you completely control the indriyas using the mind and leave it as such, that cannot. It has to be given a proper direction. So that's why he advises you do karma yoga. And what type of karma yoga? Without attachment. So, somebody gives a very beautiful example. Supposing there is a camera. If there is a white paper, it will never get damaged. But once you insert a coated film, even by mistake, slightest exposure, it is gone. Similarly, with a mind that is coated with ashakti, with desires, if you function, that is disastrous. But if the mind is without any attachment, that without not any coating, but is pure, then it can function beautifully. So it's very necessary to take care how the mind is, that it doesn't get attached. See, work. Why in the ancient traditions, particularly the Advaitic traditions, why work is condemned so much? Shankaracharya again is very emphatic that unless you give up work, you cannot. Because one reason is work itself means duality. Dvaita ki bina काम हो नहीं सकता, because there should be karma, karna and the karta, the doer, the instrument and the act of work itself. But apart from that, that is one thing. So that directly cuts at the root of the idea of unity or oneness, etc. So that is one thing. Second is, it's very difficult not to get attached when you work. See, all the problems everywhere, throughout human existence, wherever you go, wherever you are, you may be a doctor, engineer, executive, office goer, maybe a husband and wife and housewife or lawyer, anybody, even if you are in an ashram. The moment you do work, something comes. Work has a wonderful way of binding you. Sri Ramakrishna himself says, लोग तो कहते हैं कर्मयोग, कहाँ से आसक्ति घुस जाती है पता ही नहीं चलता है. Everybody thinks that we are doing wonderful karma yoga. तो scratch a little, हाँ मैंने किया आप ऐसे बोला, बस आरंभ हो गया. So it's very difficult because See, the nature of mind, or nature, because you see, unless that's why Sri Ramakrishna was very emphatic, and Swamiji also, and Mother also. Unless there is some kind of a samanvaya in our life, unless we bring all the yogas to bear upon in our existence, it's not enough if you. Although theoretically, Swamiji clearly says that through Karma Yoga alone you can reach the highest, but the type of Karma Yoga Swamiji talks about is very extraordinary. It's even to the point of death. If a person can go to that level to do something for others, even if one is ready to court death, मरने के लिए तैयार है, तो उसके अंदर ऑटोमेटिकली बाकी सब योग किसी तरह आ ही गया. उसका डेडिकेशन, उसका जो फीलिंग्स, उसकी एकाग्रता, सब कुछ उसमें खुद ही आ जाता है. He does not deliberately do that sadhana to get all those, but one scales up the level of activity, Karma Yoga, to such an extent that one is ready to die. So I know Swamiji, that famous incident which he gives in the Karma Yoga, that very, very famous. He says, I think all of you must have read, there was after the Mahabharata war, Dharmaputra did the great Rajasuya Yajna. It's considered the most important and the biggest of sacrifices. Then he gave so much in gifts. And everybody said, oh, this is something no one has seen such a yajna where so much was given as gifts. Then it seems when mongoose appeared there, half of its body was gold and half was a normal color. It rolled on the place where the yajna had been conducted. It said, oh, nothing. What is this? What are you saying? Then it said, listen, in a place, in a village or somewhere, it was terrible drought for years and people are dying for want of food and everything. Then there was a family, a husband, wife, and 2 children, Brahmins. So after great difficulty, after several days of starvation, they got some flour. So they had cooked and they were about to sit and eat. So they had made it into 4 divisions so that no one overeats into the other share. They were about to start, then they had a knock. So naturally, Atiti Devo Bhava, they opened the door and they saw someone ravenously hungry. He said, I'm dying. I will die now. Give something immediately. And the husband gave his share and he ate and said, you only increased my hunger so little. Then wife gave, the children gave, everything he ate. And then he blessed all of them and left. That night, all the 4 died of starvation. They could not stand it anymore. It was such intense. So, of course, the idea is, we should understand all this in the right context. It doesn't mean that if you do Karma Yoga, you will die out of starvation. That is not what is meant. I mean, to what extent one can go? Because you see, we all cherish this body of ours so much. The whole our life, majority of our life, we goes to tending this body in various ways, either decoration or medicine or food or something else or dress. So if you just go through our life, more than 50% goes in tending to the body only. So it is so dear to us. So someone is ready even to the point of death. And then the mongoose says, next morning I went there, I rolled on the floor, just a particle of that flour was there. Immediately half my body became gold. I am still searching for a place of such sacrifice where the other half also would turn into gold. So Swamiji says, Karma Yoga is self-abnegation of the highest order, even to the point of death. So, of course, that is very, very extraordinary. So, normally, what happens when you do this seva, yoga, and all that, unless you combine the others, I love this discrimination, vichara. What am I doing? Am I really going in the right direction? Is it bringing me tremendous feelings of ego and ankara and pride, and I want name and fame and all that? Are they creeping in? And then similarly, you try to meditate deeply to understand your own nature, where your mind is going, what are it seeking, and then a feeling of devotion to God or your Ishtadevata, whatever it is. When you combine all that, then the work, then you can avoid this. Otherwise, any work would immediately produce ashakti. Even if you lift something little, immediately that will have its effects. That is why the ancients, one school of thought was very much against the idea of work or karma. But karma yoga is not work, because yoga itself means it is joined to something. Yoga means from yuj, that means to join. It is joined to a great idea, to a great goal, to the supreme, to the highest, ultimate truth, whatever you might say. Because of that, it has no powers of binding you. If it's a yoga in a true sense, it will not bind you, it will not bring you any attachment and all that. You can use it to progress in spiritual life. That's why he says, such people alone excel who do it without attachment, and at the same time who have brought their indriyas under control. And then what he says, so niyatam kuru karmatvam karma jyayo hi akarmanaha sharira yatra pichate na prasid ye akarmanaha. So he says, perform your prescribed duties. Niyatam kuru karmatvam. So what are, then again this is a big question. What are the ordained duties? Everybody thinks, even the most terribly attached person also thinks I am doing only what's my duty. The parents think that the children no longer want their guidance, but no, unless we look after them, they will not be happy and they will be in trouble. But children say, no, you better stay away, we don't want you. So, that assumption that without that, nothing will happen, I have to be there, that is attachment, that is not niyatam. Niyatam kuru. Whatever is ordained, some people interpret this as the Shastra Vihita Karma. Shastras are some things like Agnihotra, etc., which are prescribed for individuals. This, that. It's not only that, it's even beyond that. See, you may have a family, you may have children, you may have somebody to support, you may elderly people to take care of, you to do something in society. All that comes under the idea of niyata karma, what is prescribed duties. So the idea is, you must understand where to draw the line, because otherwise then the prescribed duties can land us into, because you keep on assuming it is prescribed and it is not. See, that is the biggest problem in this karma yoga or karma associated striving. It simply sucks you. When you start doing, it leads to more. So you very rarely get the tendency or idea to withdraw. Whatever is necessary, whatever is ordained, whatever is absolutely essential, we'll do it. Do it with the fullest awareness, fullest concentration, fullest attitude, everything. But it's not necessary, ready to withdraw. Just watch what the thing go. Let us. There are somebody, they can never delegate. They can never this thing. Everything they themselves should do. That is not that. So the idea, you should also know, if you're a true karma yogi, you will also know when to withdraw. No, I don't have to be there. It is already happening. So then you just watch. So niyatam kuru karma. Why he says? Because action is superior to inaction. Why? Previously I had described inaction, because not out of a sense of complete tranquility. That also you will see later on. Who can really remain free from action? This is not because one has attained such a state of tranquil mind, this person is no longer in need of act. ऐसा नहीं है वो ऐसे जगह पे पहुंच गया, उसका कोई ऐसे कर्म करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. वो जबरदस्ती करना नहीं चाहते हैं. Either he is lazy or he has some other ideas. If he is not being given enough chance or motivation or तारीफ और जो भी है, उस कारण से बिना सोचे समझे ऐसे कोई नहीं काम करें, वो कोई फायदा नहीं है. Because as he really he has only previously just said कर्मेंद्रियाणि संयम्य यो मनसा स्मरण, यास्ते मनसा स्मरण इंद्रियार्थान विमूढ़ आत्मा मिथ्याचार. सो जबरदस्ती आप ऐसे प्रिटेंड करें, आप भान करें, दिखावा, नहीं हम कुछ नहीं करता हूँ, हम ध्यान करता हूँ, but you are sitting all the way thinking what is happening there, what is happening there, what is happening there. अरे वाह रहने में अच्छा होता था. So that is not true. So when you say that, so that's why the path of action is really most recommended for majority of the aspirant, because that goes along with our natural tendency. There's a tendency to participate, tendency to perform, but can you, that's why he says, previous look I said, you have to मनसा नियम्य, उसके मन के द्वारा उसका एक नियंत्रण में लाके फिर उसके कर्मयोग में लगाओ, तब आपका आध्यात्मिक जीवन में आगे बढ़ने का जरूर एक रास्ता मिल ही जाएगा. So otherwise, then he says, why inaction is here? Shariri yatra pichite na prasiddhit akarmanah. See, even the maintenance of the body will not be possible without karma. आपका तो शरीर रखने के लिए तो खाना है, पीना है, सोना है, सब कुछ करना है. So that's all karma only. How can you do anything without being without karma? So karma is absolutely unavoidable. So instead of just maintaining or doing karma only for one's sake, mera nahi karke, then you do it as a yoga, do it for others, do it for this. So then it becomes your tendency to act, your tendency to perform, tendency to participate. They all get a higher drift, higher motivation, as a direction. सब मिल ही जाता है आपका. So that is good. That's why he says you cannot simply say that I will not do anything, because you cannot. Even breathing is karma. Even सांस लेना वो भी तो एक कर्म है ना. So no one can that way. That's why somewhere else Sri Krishna says, nahi kachit chanamapi jatu tishtiti karma. Any person who is born cannot be free from action even for a second. So only thing is, how does, so then obviously, the question happens, the question arises, what happens to the people who are completely enlightened, but totally they have realized the highest goal of life? Don't they do anything? What about them? Don't they perform actions at all? Yes. Then what happens? The action loses its tendency to bind. So they always compare it to a burnt rope. मान लीजिए एक रस्सी है, वो तो उसका जला गया, वो देखने के लिए वो रस्सी का शेप है, लेकिन उसी से आप किसी के बांधना संभव नहीं होगा. It cannot be used to tie or bind anybody. Similarly, at that stage, when a person has realized the highest truth, they also do. Sri Ramakrishna was going here, he was going regularly to the devotees' houses to conduct satsang, he will talk, he will dance, he will discuss, he will discourse, all that. What is all that? They do, but they absolutely free from the idea of any binding nature, because उसके अंदर कोई अहंकार की लेश भी नहीं. There is no ahankara in that. Anything bereft of ahankara, it cannot bind you. It only it may look like karma for an observer, for an external observer, but internally a person, because that person knows he is fully liberated, is not attached to anything, and also उसका कोई फर्क ही नहीं होगा करना नहीं करना, because that is the test. Suppose I can't do this, I will die unless I do. I have to do. No, not that way. नहीं करना, करना है, ठीक है. So because why? Then it's no longer karma. For the outer, the contour, shape, etc., they look like karma, but actually it's only because it is done in that supreme awareness. It is yoga of the highest order. It has no tendency to bind, so there is no attachment generated out of it. That's why whatever they do, it's not going to be of any distinct to them. It will not affect their spiritual illumination or awareness. So there's a huge difference between those who are completely entangled, the way they work, those who are sadhakas who work, those who are advanced in spiritual life, they work, and those who are fully enlightened, they work. So there is a huge difference in the quality of the work that is done. So because nobody can be, see, enlightened person does not eat, then he has to die immediately. He has to eat, he has to sleep, he has to drink water, he has to do other natural duties and all that. Yeah. So they all perform, but there is no sense that there is no sense of attachment, there is no sense of bondage, there is no sense of ahankara. I am doing, that is in the kartha. यानी कर्म योग का कर्म में क्या दिक्कत क्या है? कर्तृत्व भोक्तृत्व. I am the karta, I am the enjoyer. So if these two are absent, no work will bind you. So any work that you do, if you examine very closely, always there will be idea, I am the doer, I am the karta. And I am the enjoyer. ये fruits, इसकी फल, इसका जो है मैं ही भोग, मैं ही भोग करना है, मेरा ही. So if these two, if we can take away, then work has absolutely no capacity to bind you. Any amount you can do, nothing will happen. And that will result in loka sangraha. So at the higher level, those enlightened people, why they do? Some of the, see, Shankaracharya was the greatest of Advaita Jnani, toured throughout the country. In a matter of few years, he went from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. Why? Just because of loka sangraha, for the benefit of humanity. They have nothing of their own, but for the sake of the humanity, because they have no bondage. Nothing is affecting them. So that is how they work. So he says, even to maintain the body, you have to work. So it's better you do the work in a very selective way, the work that is ordained upon you, which you are duty bound to do. Niyata karma, you do, no problem. And then he says, then what is the kind of karma that we can do? How it can be really an ennobling act? उसकी तरीका, उसका क्या, कैसे आप बढ़ा सकते हैं, उसका क्वालिटी, हाउ कैन यू इम्प्रूव? यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणोऽन्यत्र लोकोऽयं कर्म बंधनः तदर्थं कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्त संग समाचर. So Kaunteya, the son of Kunti, he says, in this world, yajnatat karmano nyatra, karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. In this world, action, unless they are done as an offering to God, yajna. So there was very famous in the ancient days, the concept of yajna was very famous. Particularly in some communities, they will सुबह से दोपहर तक हर घर पे all those yajnas used to happen. So that's why they have, in that, there's always a system of offering oblations into the fire. So every work, unless it is done as an offering to God, it becomes a cause for bondage. Therefore, he says, work for sake of yajna or God without personal attachment. He says, Mukta Sangha Samachara. You work without getting attached, with freedom, and then you work for the sake of this yajna. Here, yajna can have, it can be put in several ways. One is, here yajna, here means virtually as an offering to God for a superior purpose, with an idea that is for the benefit of others. So in this world, because again it will come in this world, there is a, why this idea of yajna? By yajna we mean what is, even in the traditional yajnas, what is that is offered? Why ghee, havan, etc.? Why that is offered in fire? That is symbolic of offering to Prakriti or nature. Fire, in the Vedic times, subsequently during the Pauranic Yuga, etc., all these, Devatas, Rama, Krishna, etc., all those deities, etc., came much later. In the Vedic period, the only gods worshipped were Indra, Varuna, Agni, Vayu, etc. These were the nature. Nature gods were all they were worshipped. They were symbolic of the highest truth, highest revelation, highest idea, highest supreme goal. So these were the deities that were worshipped. So they set up this yajna kunda and offer oblations into the fire. It is not just wasting material. One can say, no, I cannot give it to some poor people. No. Why that is being done? The idea is to show our indebtedness to God. Because this whole world, everything is in one sense, in a beautiful way, everything has been set up to facilitate human birth, human survival, human existence, etc. Everything is happening in a very beautiful way. Can give one scientific explanation, but the point is, it is happening. Every day the sun rises. Supposing 3 days sun takes chutti, what will happen? We will all die. Supposing 3 days there is no sun, all dead, total gone. So it rises in time. There's some rains. and then other these things. There's a plenty of water in the ocean everywhere. So the earth is so fertile. Everything, you can sow the seeds, but there is nothing in the earth, nothing will come out. All the seeds would die. So the nature is so bountiful. Nature gives everything. Prakriti, nature, they used to use the word Prakriti for nature. So to the acknowledge the complete indebtedness of the entire humanity, that we are all indebted to nature or Prakriti, they used to offer oblations into the fire to show our gratitude. And the remembrance that we know that we're completely dependent on nature, that we are getting everything from you. So in response to that, to acknowledge that, we are offering oblations. So here what he says, you do that. So whatever work is done in this world as an offering to God, as an offering to Prakriti, as a offering to nature, that work has no capacity to bind. Because when you say that you are offering to God, you know that you are blessed, you are fortunate. You don't think that you don't offer to God in a condescending way. अरे मैं उसका दे देता हूँ भगवान ले लो, ऐसे देते हैं? भक्ति से, श्रद्धा से, विनम्रता से, नहीं भगवान आपने मेरे सब कुछ किया, मैं मेरा अपना कृतज्ञता ज्ञापन करता हूँ, कुछ देता हूँ, ऑफर कर दो. That's how we do. So anything that is done as an offering to God in this world, remembering that it is God and His grace, so that everything that is convenient for our survival, for our life, for our participation, everything has been arranged in a very beautiful way. Imagine, how the survival of humanity so beautifully facilitated, with the sun and moon and stars and earth and ocean, water, everything, whole nature is completely aligned for human survival. If there's a slight distortion here and there, one tsunami, millions gone. Just a matter of, few minutes, nothing beyond that. It was just for a few minutes, millions wiped out. So imagine how important is nature, how important God has created it for the welfare of humanity. So if one knows that, no, I am doing everything for the sake of God, because I have got so much, I have received so much, so in small way, at least I must repay all that. My indebtedness I should show. Then, the whole thing becomes very different. And then you really function in a manner which does not cause any attachment. So he says, in this world, all other works which are done, because without the idea of a superior orientation, that it is for God or it's for superior purpose, then it leads to only bondage. Because why? In other case, it's for my sake, I am doing it, I am enjoying. Here I am saying, even if you are doing it, you are doing it as an offering. I am God's servant, I am God's child, God's dependent, I am a God's obedient person. I have surrendered to God, I am a devotee of God. I am doing it because it's all God who has created, who has done everything. In a small way, I am showing my gratitude, my dependence on everything. So, if you do with that idea, that's what Gita somewhere else also says, et karoshi, et dasnasi, et josi, et dadasi, et tavasyasi kaunte, et tat kurushya madarpanam. Do everything. He himself says, everything you offer unto me, madarpanam. What is kuru? Why? What is that? Whatever you do, et karoshi, adasnasi, whatever you eat, et juhosi, whatever you do as yaga, yajna, then your tapasya, your dana, everything you offer unto me. So you don't retain the idea, I am doing it, I have to get the fruits, it's my sake, I am the karta. No, I do it, Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. सो भगवान के चरण में मैं समर्पण कर दिया, ताकि इसके अंदर जो मेरा अच्छा बुरा है, कुछ भी मेरा नहीं चाहिए, मैं सब दे दिया. So that means what? Whatever, supposing you go and buy some goods in the market, you work in the office, you get salary. No. भगवान के चरण में दे दिया, हर महीने के आप चेक पूरा मंदिर में जाके हुंडी में डाल देंगे. Not that way. You want to remember that I'm getting this. I'm getting this convenience. I'm able to live peacefully. I'm enjoying all this just because of God's grace. That remembrance. God is not in need of our little check or money or offerings or anything. ना कितना आप जाओ तो तिरुपति में लारी की लारी ऐसी चीज आ जाते हैं. You know, nobody can even Bhagavan can't eat so much. So what is the idea? Does God need all that? No, we express our gratitude, our feelings. It's not that God is in need of all that. So with that idea, if you do, if you keep it for yourself also, you will not misuse it. You will not indulge in immoral or unethical practices. You will always function with a sense of caution, sense of concern. There will be the thought of others' welfare in your mind. You'll always say, even out of this, how much I can do something for others. All those good things will germinate only when you do all that, whatever we do, even a secular activity, with that attitude. Yes, I have this job, it's a very good job, it's a paying job, every month the salary comes into the account, but it's all God's grace. I do it with the idea somehow, because in this world, every second, lakhs and lakhs of employees are being laid off, whether it's Google or Amazon or anybody. I'm continuing, it's God's grace. नहीं तो any moment I can get the notice, नहीं आज से तुम्हारी जरूरत नहीं है, लैपटॉप जमा करो. Is it not? So that idea, that's also, then when you do like that, it will not create any attachment or bondage. That's why he says to Arjuna, you won't fight, don't worry. Don't think that I am fighting. I am going to win the war. I am going to enjoy. I am going to cut off the heads of all Kauravas. No, go and do. You don't know what's going to happen. You may win, you may not win also. But be, whatever is your ordained duty as a Kshatriya, as a leader of the Pandava army, as a person who is protecting Dharma, it's a duty now to go and fight. You cannot say, I will not fight. That you have no right to say that. It's your bounden duty. But do it with a sense of yajna, or the sense of it's the Lord's wish that I fight because such a situation has arisen. There has been a practice of adharma by the Kauravas. They had taken this. Otherwise, what would, supposing in the Gita, Arjuna had not fought, completely Kauravas had a walkover, they had won. What did humanity gather in the subsequent generations? Oh, it's better to be Duryodhana rather than Arjuna, because you win the wars easily. First, we have enough Duryodhanas in the society today, but at least they are kept in little check, because here and there are one or two Arjunas fighting hard. So it was because it was a dharma. That's why the Gita starts Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. It was Dharma Kshetra. It was a place of war, Kurukshetra, but it was meant for dharma, establishment of dharma. So if you do not fight, you will be following the path of adharma. Adharma will triumph over dharma, and that will be given to posterity. This is how it happened. They came, Arjuna ran away, Duryodhana won, so let us follow adharma. So to establish dharma, it is necessary. That's why he said you go and work, but work without attachment. Don't think that I am doing it, I am killing them, I am the warrior, I am the leader, I have to enjoy. No, no need for all that. Just do whatever niyata, whatever is ordained to you. Then he says, Sahajna praja srishtva parovacha prajaptihi anina prasvishyadvam yeshavotishta kamadhu. So what is this? In this Saha Yajna Praja Srishtva, together with Yajna, Prajapati, the God, Brahma, he created men along with sacrifice. That means the yajnas are as old as creation itself. So you can say here selfless work with detachment and dedicated to God, or you can say Vedic sacrifice. So this yajna can be interpreted in both ways. So along with the prajas, he simultaneously created these yajnas also. Along with yajna, he created the prajas, and Purovacha Prajapatihi. And he declared, what did he declare? So anena prasavishyadvam yeshavos tishta kamadhuk. So by this you shall multiply. इससे लेके आप बहु बन जाओ, और इसी से एक आमद होने से आपका जो आपका चाहिए सब यहाँ से मिलेगा. So in the beginning itself he gave a formula. See, all been created now. Now how are you going to survive? Here is the Kamadhenu. Here is a milch cow that will give you whatever you want. What is that? Is yajna. That is, by action, is completely dedicated, and that is totally of unselfish nature. You practice this, everything will come. Everything will come. See, quite often we think that, if you are unselfish, if you do whatever we are doing is going to be lost. No, it will come back to you manyfold, in a most wonderful way. Only thing is, Swami somewhere says, unfelt work pays. Only you must have the patience. आज ही करके काल ही मेरा फल मांगो तो नहीं होगा, बट आप अपेक्षा करो, बहुत गुना आपकी तरफ वापस आ जाएगा. So he says, in the beginning itself, he did this. You will multiply, you will become many, everything will happen. But you follow this idea of yajna, follow this idea of being unselfish, follow this idea of dedicating yourself, following this idea of surviving for the sake of others, doing something constantly. All these ideas you keep in mind and you do, you'll find that you are progressing, you are getting everything, because see, they also said, no, what happened during tsunami and all that? We completely neglected nature. We completely turned our eyes the other way and went on exploiting. That's what the result. So what happened? How thousands and thousands of people died in that Kedar floods? Why? Because they are done to such an extent, this mining and etc., the digging of those hilly tracts and all that. There was complete ecological imbalance that resulted in that extraordinary, unprecedented floods, and thousands of lives were lost. So every now and then, nature gives us a warning. Don't do this, don't do this. If you do this, you'll die. But if you don't listen, that is. But on the other hand, even at the time of Srishti, even when he began, the Creator God clearly said, you go ahead. This will give you everything. You don't have to worry. But you have to follow this principle of yajna, being a dedicated, totally dedicated service, selfless service, trying to give, don't think me, and then nothing will happen. There is somebody told a very beautiful story. In a village, there is a very old temple, and there were no rains in that area for many, many years. So the emperor said, no, see, because this god is lying unattended, we must all do nice weirds. After all, there are 200 families in this area. If all of us, contribute one glass of milk, and then we do milk abhisheka, then the deity will be pleased. बहुत बरसात सब आ जाएगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं, हम लोग का सब ठीक ठाक हो जाएगा. तो एवरीबडी एग्री, इट वाज अ जॉइंट डिसीजन. सब मंदिर में उन्होंने नाट मंदिर में बहुत बड़ा एक पात्र बिठा दिया. बोला सब अपना अपना एक एक गिलास दूध डालो, शाम तक भरी जाएगा. संध्या कालीन में बहुत बड़ा अभिषेक, संध्या अभिषेक आरती भोग सब, उसके बाद प्रसाद. देखो 3 दिन के अंदर बहुत बारिश. तो द फर्स्ट पर्सन केम. उन्होंने सर इतना बड़ा पात्र भाई, मैं दूध डालूं तो पानी डालूं किसी पता भी नहीं चलेगा, बाकी लोग तो सब दूध डालेंगे, इसके अंदर 1 गिलास का पानी क्या फर्क पड़ेगा. तो उसे पानी डाल के चला गया. दूसरा करके वाला वो भी सोचा, तो देख नहीं पा रहा है अंदर क्या है, इतना गहराई से तो इतना बड़ा वेसल है, वो भी पानी डाला. सब ऐसे किया, शाम आके देखें तो वेसल पानी से भर गया, अभिषेक भी नहीं हुआ, कुछ भी नहीं. So everybody thinks that others will do, I don't have anything to do, then there will be only tsunamis and droughts, and everywhere you see all that is happening, all droughts, all that is happening, flood, these, that. So all largely man-made, because we have neglected nature, we have neglected our duty, we have neglected all that. That's what is happening. But even at the time of creation, clearly said that this is what is. You go and do this, so you will get everything. So why, even why this concept of yajna? So there is a complete interdependence of humanity. See, now that we are coming and we are sitting in this class, it's a good temperature adjusted. So much has happened. The land was acquired, पैसा इकट्ठा करना, ये करना, कंट्रैक्टर, बिल्डर, आर्किटेक्ट, बहुत लोग दिन रात सुप्रवेश किया, कितना दौड़ भाग किया, एमसीडी ऑफिस की, कितना उन लोग बहुत बार नाराज हुआ क्यों रिश्वत नहीं दे रहे करके, बहुत सारा कितना ट्रबल. और इसकी ना सीट्स लगाना, सीट्स नहीं लगाया दोबारा लगाना पड़ा, कारपेट की दोबारा, everything. Finally, we are simply coming and sitting and listening to Gita and we are going back. But कोई सोच नहीं क्या इसके पीछे क्या क्या हुआ. मैं कई बार बताता हूँ बड़े बड़े इंस्टीट्यूशन में, देखो you are in such a beautiful school, you are enjoying such facilities, don't think that आपके पिताजी पैसा भरा आप यहाँ आके बैठ के, no, the farmer who is committing suicide has contributed. हर से हम लोग लेती बड़े हो रहे ना. So if you constantly remember that there's a complete idea of interdependence of entire humanity, then your life will be very beautiful. You will never feel that anything I get I somehow hold, somehow come, somehow do this, everything somehow. No, say no, मैं सच्चाई से करेंगे, ईमानदारी से करेंगे, जो करना करेंगे. So everything I will do clearly, transparently, thinking the view of others in mind. So समाज में देखो जो करते, whether insurance agent, investment agent, सब कुछ मेरा कैसा इसी से मिला, किसी तरह मैं बिक के चले जाऊं. No, that should not be. You see, what's good for you? Can you buy this? Is it good for you? So everywhere. So ultimately, that's why he's calling. The whole world is so interdependent. Every minute of our existence is completely, supposing the world is such a huge concentration of carbon emission. We will not die of carbon dioxide smoking. We can't live. Even now it is maybe within little tolerant levels. Supposing you will keep on producing only goods and letting loose only industrial carbon monoxide into the air. We can't we can't live. So everything, the water we drink, unless people they do, it'll not be a potable water. We'll drink polluted water and we'll all develop stomach problems. Many would die also. So every moment of our life, from the time we wake up till we go to bed, and even beyond that, even if you sleep peacefully, you need so many other things. So if you always remember constantly the idea of interdependence, then you will understand the idea of yajna. So one should live a life dedicated not just only for oneself, even for others also. What all one should do. All those things will be very, very clear to us. And then we can conduct our life beautifully in a manner that is in according to Gita. Then only, this will everything will multiply. The moment you keep on doing your part of the job, then, like that everybody does, then there will be plenty in this world, there will be enough for this world. See, somewhere somebody was saying 5% of the people hold 95% of the wealth of the country. That amount of skewed distribution of wealth and goods. Obviously, there is so much of poverty, millions and millions of people living below the poverty line. Does anyone think that? How to have more, how to have more, how to have more profit? So, that idea, then there will be only suffering, disaster, and all kinds of natural and other man made calamities. That will be the result. Nobody can say, see, it will come in such a form, even the biggest of biggest industries also cannot survive. Everyone, what we now think, oh, I am very safe, it's going to affect only the people in the street or the slum dwellers. Then at the next step, no, I am not safe, it will go to the next level. Then finally, even the biggest crorepati also will be simply swept away by that. So it's if you that's why he says, understand this idea of selfless service, this idea of dedicated action, this kind of the concept of yajna is there from the beginning, from Srishti itself. Sahayajna praja srishva. Even at the time of creation, Brahma made this rule, made this dictate. I am creating you and I am also giving you this idea. Live with the idea of yajna, live with the idea of sacrifice, live with the idea of dedicated action. You will find that your life is beautiful and you will get whatever you want, because when everyone does his part of the job, ultimately there will be plenty, enough for everyone. No one need die of hunger or thirst or poverty, etc. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Next week we will not have, because next week is National Youth Day and we have a beautiful classical music program by a very eminent artist, Dr. Subhadra Desai. 4 to 6 you can come and then we will see. Huh? Thank you.